What do you even mean? Hayden Pedersen is on my podcast. This is a longtime guest that wanted on my show for the last 5 years, talking about photography and the spirit world, and also life as a famous creator on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the interview. Peace out. Welcome everybody back to another episode. I am so happy that you're here. Today actually marks 5 years of watching Hayden's content, and this is probably one of the most emotional episodes for me because, Hayden, I know that you impact a lot of people, but I wouldn't be in art school in the dorm that I'm in right now. I wouldn't be a photographer. I wouldn't have this podcast or company if it wasn't for you and the boys and the content that you guys post on YouTube. So this is like seriously like a remarkable moment. All of the photo battles that you did to inspire me when I was young, to pick up a camera, to buy this camera, that camera. Like, I love it. It just, everything that I've ever done past the point when I was like 14, 15 has been because of the stuff that you've created. So I really appreciate you actually sharing like the time that you have with your day coming on the show.
Of course, man, dude. Honestly, and like the fact that you say that is like very humbling to me. I'm just super grateful to be able to impact people like yourself in a positive way. So that's awesome.
Yeah, of course. I want to like start with the photo battle. Actually, before COVID, you had the like 15-second photo challenge that I like submitted for. And I was like, I got really close with a lot of the other guys that submitted for that as well. 40 hours building this thing, and it's kind of like launched where my photography career happened. What was like the inspiration for like stuff like that to get people involved and really like inspired with photo battles and the challenges and everything?
Well, honestly, when it comes down to the challenges, like the photo battles, those were me and Lamont, my friend, we were talking about potentially having an idea of doing like some sort of photography game, and where other people, where we could get the audiences involved as much as possible. And so with the photo battle series, for those who are watching and they don't know about what it is, essentially what we do is we start off in the same location, spread off into different parts of that location, and take as many cool photos as possible. Then we come back to the same location that we did at the start, edit up the photos, put them up on our Instagram stories for people to vote, and then whoever gets the most votes wins. Whoever gets the least amount of votes loses, and whoever loses has to do something that they don't want to do. So it's all about getting the audience involved, as well as having a good time taking photos. That was the whole idea behind that kind of the photo battle challenges. But when it comes down to like the other ones, like the 15-second photo challenge, or like all that kind of stuff, that was in collaboration with other companies like Epidemic Sound.
Yeah, that was Epidemic Sound. I remember that one.
Yeah, we wanted to get like other people. We wanted to just essentially, it was all about community building. And because we really, at the time, to be honest, I didn't really realize the impact, or like the so-called importance of fostering your relationship with your followers, because like I feel like I was just very focused on creating, which is great. Like, it's good to do that. But now that I've like kind of matured in making content and everything, I have come to realize the importance of my community.
Yeah. So let's reel back to when you started YouTube, because you started 7 years ago, and you and I actually were both like super inspired by Peter, which is so cool that you like got to meet him and everything. I don't know if you guys like stay super in touch, but like I'm really inspired by like the moment where you start to gain traction, where you start to post content, stuff starts to like click, and your life starts to like really change. Describe like that feeling, that moment where you start to get traction. What is that like?
So for the first year or something of doing YouTube, I can't remember the exact numbers, but like it took me a year or something to get to like, I think it was like either 1,000 subscribers or like just around that area. So it took a while, and I didn't know what my niche was. But I did like photography. So I was watching a guy, named Peter McKinnon. He's like the GOAT of like photography and filmmaking. And I ended up seeing him do a video called, it was like 9 camera hacks in 80 seconds or something like that. And essentially I was like, if he can do it, then I can do it. And I pretty much copied him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I made a video called 10 camera hacks in less than 100 seconds. And that video ended up going viral because like camera tricks, all that kind of stuff, that was like starting to like gain a lot more traction at the time.
Yeah.
And so when that was my first video to go viral. That when that video was getting so much traction, like it was like I would refresh the page, it would be like at 10,000, refresh again, it would be at 20,000, and it would be like exponential growth. And I wasn't used to that at the time, obviously, because with YouTube, I was just like getting like maybe 900 views like per video. Which is still a lot. Like if you think about 900 people, that's a lot. But when you think about 1 million people in the span of like a month when you're not used to that, that's like exponential. And now, like to this day, I think that video is at like 12 million views or something.
Yeah.
But either way, to describe that feeling of the exponential growth, because I hadn't had it before, I was like on cloud nine, baby. Like this was like
What do you even
ridiculous. Like,
mean?
yeah, I was like, what do you mean? Just like going through the stratosphere. So yeah, it was an amazing feeling, but just like all feelings, it's temporary.
So I'm very curious too, because people do go viral and then they stop going viral because either they went viral too early or their content's not good and it doesn't sustain the growth in a long period of time. Luckily, you're actually a really good creator and you managed to even like take the virality and grow with it. What was like the thought process? Did you ever start getting stressed out once you like hit that first video and you're like, well, shit, people are watching this. I better like really turn it up. I better start like getting my game on. Or was it just like you knew what you were doing and you were fine?
Um, to be honest, like I didn't really think about it too much. Like I was like, okay, more people are seeing my stuff. This is good. Um, but what I did notice was the more that I posted photography videos or stuff to do with filmmaking, anything to do with cameras, those videos would get more views because the views that would come from the camera hacks video, those people were into cameras and filmmaking and
Yeah.
photography. So it spilled off onto those videos. So that's when I
Yeah.
started to like develop my niche of like photography.
Okay. Okay. And you never really stressed out about like making sure the quality was amazing. You just were pumping out content. Just if they liked it, they liked it. If not, you were doing it for yourself or
Um, honestly, oh, sorry, 1 second. I just need to decline. Oh, my mom's trying to call me. Sorry about that. Anyway, uh, so the question was, oh yeah, about the quality and stuff. Um, no, honestly, I didn't really feel that stress or anything. I like the filmmaker in me kind of feels like, oh, maybe I should say like I was stressed or something because it's like it adds more drama to it. But the reality
yeah.
was like I was not actually stressed. If anything, I was excited and I was like, okay, let's run with this. And like I was trying to like, yeah, like as you say, like just turn the knob up to 100% kind of thing. And so I was making photography videos that were getting more views, and then that's when I ended up like going through like a pretty hard time because I ended up going through a breakup with my girlfriend at
I
the
remember
time,
that.
Bella.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That's when I started watching your stuff.
Yeah. And so essentially that was when I was like, okay, I want to turn up my content to 100% because I want to show Bella that I'm doing well without her kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to prove that I could like survive on my own.
Yeah.
And so I was making more videos just flat out. Like I was making like 5 videos a week for at one point, which was ridiculous. And especially like the amount of like time and effort that goes into like making these videos, it's like it was unsustainable.
Yeah.
But that was when my friend Mike, aka North Borders, ended up reaching out to me because he saw one of my videos, the one where it was the product photography with the watch.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So he saw that video, and he's like, all right, like we should meet up. I met up with him, and then we became good friends, and then we started making photography videos together. And because he was such a good photographer and we worked together so well, and no one, like at the time, I didn't know anyone else that was doing this stuff, but we started making photography videos, like creative photography videos that weren't boring. There were videos that were like that
Dude,
had
like
energy. And
the paint powder, man, that was like that changed my like photography game. I had like my girlfriend buy like massive tubs of paint powder. We were like slapping that stuff around.
it's so sick. But
Yeah.
like, and that's the thing, because there was so many videos on YouTube about photography, but it was all like a lot of like older people that didn't have a lot of energy, and they were kind of boring, and like obviously not everyone's like that, but
Yeah.
like I feel like what made us stand out was that we were young, we were full of energy, full of passion,
Yeah.
and that was it.
What do you think of like the Jordy Qualtic style? I think he's like right in line with you guys, like young, energetic. His styles are crazy. Are you like connected with him?
I'm not connected with Geordie, but he, look, like obviously extremely talented dude. Like
Yeah.
he's extremely creative with his ideas, and I respect that so much. In terms of his photography, I'm not a huge fan, but like I love his creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. There was this one time where I did kind of like copy off him, and I didn't give him credit, and he messaged me and he's like, are you going to give me credit? Like, what's the go? So I gave him credit after that. I'm like, sorry, bro. But
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
when I was younger.
No, I love that. What so when you're like doing this and you're like growing the content and getting more quality, like today, as you're at right now, like how do you envision that you continue to increase the quality and make the videos even more engaging? Do you like feel like you need to do that, or do you feel like where you're at is like good as long as you're just creating more of the same content, or like what's the strategy behind the content you're producing today versus back then?
Well, honestly, like my strategy, I'm a bit up in the air with that because I'm still like I love photography. I I'm not sure where I'm going to be taking my channel right now because I'm in a bit of a transition phase, I feel. I'm in a bit of a different chapter in my life. Um, but like I said, I love photography and I do not want to let go of YouTube because it's so much of a good opportunity and like people would kill to be in my position.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to make the most of that and nurture my relationship with my audience. But in terms of like the quality and like all that kind of stuff, honestly, just honing my craft of storytelling is that's the most important thing. Like people talk about gear, people talk about um yeah, gear a lot of the time. But like honestly, story is king and it's always been king. Like it's if you can have a good story, but then like you have mediocre equipment, it blows it out of the park compared to having a bad story and good equipment,
Yeah.
like all the time.
Yeah, Ryan Trahan's like one of my favorite creators as far as like storytelling goes. I don't know if you see a lot of his stuff, but he's like just like the pacing, like the laughs, the jokes, like everything's timed perfectly, and his quality is like a lot less than like the film people and the photography people. Like they're not he's not shooting on a Red, he's shooting on an iPhone, and he still gets like 8, 10, 12 million views of video just because his story is so compelling. I love it.
Mm.
Who are you inspired by? Like who are the creators that you watch that you get like really fueled by and you're like, oh shit, what do you mean? This is crazy.
Mm. Yeah, what do you mean?
Yeah.
To be honest, I actually don't watch YouTube.
Okay.
I don't actually watch any creators. Like I don't uh, look these days. I don't like because I'm so focused on what I'm doing, and then in my spare time, because I've been on the computer editing all the time, I don't want to go to another screen to do another thing to do with a screen. Like
Yeah.
I want to go on a walk. I want to read or something like that. Like just get some space from it. But if I was to say like my favorite creators, I would have to say Casey Neistat. He inspired me to start YouTube.
Yeah.
He's another great creator that like he always like says about like how story is king and you don't need to have like any hectic, like the best camera that you have is the one that you have on you right now.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times that's your phone. So if you're in a situation where you need to document something, you're like, oh, I wish I had my camera for this. It's like you have a camera, use your phone. Um, so there's that. And yeah, man, I love Peter McKinnon's stuff. Like I haven't watched his stuff like in a bit, but like whenever I do, like is just very charismatic, and I let him know that when I met up with him at Vid Summit. And yeah, he's an all round just great guy from the hour that I spent with him.
No, I love that, dude. That's still like a massive like bucket list dream. Let's talk about a story, and then I actually want to talk about books because I know that we read a lot of the similar books, which was like super compelling. When a lot of people like hear the quote like pick up a camera and start recording, and I've heard that advice for like 5 years, but then it's like, all right, what am I supposed to record? And I think you do have like an understanding of story that some people don't. Like walk us through like kind of a framework or something that's helped you at least piece together stories on the spot or while you're making videos, like what you know is going to get views, what you know is not.
Okay. So first of all, when it comes down to views, you can't ever know what whether something sorry, whether something's going to go viral or not. At least for me, like I like you have people like Mr. Beast and all that, and they look at something, they're like, okay, like I know that this is going to get a certain amount of views because they've. Oh, you're there?
Yeah. My camera just like paused.
That's all right. Yeah, they're so like in tune with YouTube that they understand like to the T how many views they're going to get, like roughly around that area.
Yeah.
I'm not that like I haven't like studied YouTube enough for that. But like in terms of storytelling, like the to be able to like hook people in and engage people, have like high view, no, not high view, high audience retention. Um, that comes with for me the hero's journey model. And so the hero's journey model by Joseph Campbell is essentially it's it's like a structure in a story. The way that it starts off is like the ordinary world, and that's like essentially like what's happening in like the world of like the story of the character before they go out on their journey. And then it goes into the inciting incident, which is what incites them to go out on their journey. And then the midpoint, which is like the struggle, that's like the conflict. And the climax is like, are they going to reach their goal? Are they not going to? It's the maximum point of like of tension. And then the resolution is what has been learnt from that. What has the journey taught the character? And so essentially, I have that structure throughout all of my videos. And I've been practicing making videos with that structure pretty much ever since, yeah, ever since my first video.
Yeah.
So I feel like the reason why I have not to not to blow up my own ass about this, but like the reason why I am able to tell stories that are probably maybe somewhat more compelling than other people is because I've simply practiced it so
Yeah.
much. Just
Yeah.
like if you practice anything, it's like if you do weights, you're gonna get bigger muscles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it, man. I have a quote on my wall, and I don't know if you know who Alex Hermosi is. It's one of my favorite business mentors. And it's just volume negates luck. And I think anybody, just if you do enough of the stuff, it doesn't matter. Like if you're just shooting for virality, you just do enough over a long enough time horizon, it's almost impossible for you not to get lucky at least once. And by that point, you're good enough because you've done it so many times. And I see that in your content a lot. Like I remember when you started, I'm like, dang, dude, this is good. But now I see your content now, I'm like, oh shit, this is like good. And a lot of people will see your content now and be like, how do I get that good right now? But you've been doing this for 7 years and you've been doing it for even longer too. Like, Most people will want to do it in like 30 days or 90 days and then they'll give up. Off of that, what's the advice there? Like for people that start and they're like, okay, I'm gonna make videos, and they do, and they make them like somewhat consistently, but they don't have like friends, they don't have Lamont, they don't have Mike, they don't have like other fans or anyone watching them. They have actually like negative response from their environment saying stop because it's not like right, and then they get demotivated and then they shut down. Like, what's the advice
Yeah.
person?
I mean, like, look, uh, the thing is, like, your environment. One second, I'm just going to adjust the camera settings just because the lighting is like a little bit. Um, it's just like there's clouds going by, so it's like
Yeah.
changing the. Um, essentially, sorry, that's so annoying. I'm just being a perfectionist just because I'm a filmmaker. Um, I should have just put it on auto, to be honest. But anyway, so what was the question again? I'm so sorry.
No. You're good. You're good. For people out there that are starting and then they get inspired by you, they're like hearing some of this stuff. They're like, all right, screw it. I'm going to get a camera, and they go. But their environment isn't like geared towards like getting positive feedback to continue to do it. They don't have any followers. They don't get any views. They don't get likes. They have friends that tell them to stop, that they're stupid, that it's dumb. And their family's like, why are you wasting time? There's literally no motivation, and they don't even have internal motivation, but they see where you're at and where you've gone. What's the advice to
Yeah.
that person to just not quit? Like at everything. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Honestly, like everyone's different. Like you're the first thing I would have to say is like you really got to love it. Like
Yeah.
that is going to be the probably the biggest thing that will separate you from other people, because if you have passion in something, then that passion, that energy comes through in your videos. And the audience feels that, and that's what creates that feeling in the audience of that positive feeling. And when
Yeah.
they feel that positive feeling, it makes them want to subscribe and watch more. So you have to have passion. And I don't even know where that comes from, to be honest. That's a pretty abstract kind of thing, because you can't force passion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that the idea of passion can also be very toxic, because sometimes I feel like the idea of passion is like, oh, I'm gonna be passionate, I'm gonna be happy and joyful all the time, I'm gonna have maximum energy and it's gonna be great. But the thing is, that's just not how it is. A lot of the times it's really, really, really hard, and it's a sacrifice, really. Like that's like one of the biggest things that I would say to people that are starting out is like, this is hard. It is not easy. And don't rely on the idea of passion to get you through, because if you do, you will burn out. And I've been there. I've literally been there. Like I've burnt out a few times because I'm like questioning. I'm like, how come this isn't my passion anymore? How come I'm not
Yeah.
enjoying it and stuff? But no, it's not because of that. It's because you need to not have such high expectations on how it's going to make you feel, rather focus on dedicating it to something greater than yourself and sacrificing your time for something greater than yourself. That's what, like, for me, I sacrifice my, like, what I do. I sacrifice my time for God, for Jesus. And that's something that's greater than myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
I love it. And just to recap that, like, and correct me if I'm mistaking the recap. For people listening, when you start something, number one, you're probably not going to like it because you're going to be bad at it, and people like things that they're good at. But if you have passion to begin with, that's even better. And if you do it
Mm,
long enough, you're eventually going to get burnt out of the passion, and the passion no longer can continue the journey itself. So you have to find a different reason to do it. So connecting with a
yeah.
higher power like God is a good idea.
Mm,
Most people don't
yeah.
do this, and then they burn out, and then they're like, why do I just keep stopping all the time, and now why am I not consistent? I love it. I
Yeah.
think it's beautiful, actually.
Yeah. And the thing is, I would also like to add that it's just like a relationship, man. Like you in a relationship, you have your honeymoon phase. like that goes
Yeah.
for like, I don't know, they say 9 months or something like that. That's the same with, I feel like anything that's new. It's exciting. You have this passion, this excitement about you and stuff. But what gets you through that is love. It's like it's loving what you do, because
Yeah.
love means that you love it regardless of whether you're enjoying yourself or not. Enjoyment is not love. That's not the same thing.
Enjoyment is
Love is
not love. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's good.
yeah, love is, and like obviously, like I won't get too deep into this because love, that's a huge thing that we could go down. But like love in itself means to unconditionally love. It means to love it regardless of whether you enjoy it or not. The negatives and the positives, like love all of it together. Love the hard parts, but also you have to understand that you gotta take care of yourself. And like if you feel like you're tired and you feel like you're burnt out and you need to have a break, then the loving thing to do is to take a break, you know?
Dang. I love it, man. Actually, what you just said was really powerful too. And this will be a good segue into books. I love Stoicism a lot because it removes emotion or bias towards anything. Like if it's sunny out, you do sunny day things, and if it's rainy out, then you do rainy things. And it's not like, oh, raining is bad and sun is good, because then we just stop doing things when it's raining out and we do more things when it's sunny out. It just
Yeah.
removes that. But like the word love inherently is like, all right, I'm just going to keep doing things regardless of whether it's I deem it as good or bad. Talk to me about like how books have changed your life, what your most impactful books have been, and what you recommend people to start reading. And yeah, just
Honestly, like it's funny because I used to be into self-help books a lot, and I think that those books, they can, if you take them with a grain of salt, they can be really helpful. Um, and like stuff like stoicism, like the philosophies and stuff from people, I think that there is a place for that kind of stuff. It can really help people. Um, but I don't actually read any books so much anymore. There is this book called The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, which is a great book. It's a book about purpose. But honestly, actually, funnily enough, it's the second most sold book in the world, like ever. Um,
yeah.
but then, like, there's also like it's just honestly, like if I could recommend any book to anyone, it would be the Bible. Like I know that that's not what we're really talking about, but like that's just what I would recommend. But yeah, I don't really read a whole lot of books other than that.
All right, no, it's good. It's good. I know that there was that time where you would post content about self-help stuff, and I was just getting into that. And it,
Yeah.
it shaped my life a lot. And I think it really built your character too, which is cool. But I agree. I think self-help has a place and a time. And if you overdo it, it could be negative. Um,
Yeah.
what do you wish more people would like ask you? Like, is it photography related or something else? What's something that you're passionate about or whatever that you wish more people would like talk to you about or ask you about?
Well, to be honest, like being a storyteller, like people asking me, this is an interesting question because I haven't actually thought about this, but on the top of my head, it would be people ask me like, "What's your story?" Like, just what is your story? And then I can like explain to them like what I've been through, the highs, the lows, and how I am now. How my life has changed. Um, that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
because telling your story is the most, because it's personal and it requires you to be, depending on your story. Well, yeah, I would say it requires you to be vulnerable. It's I feel like telling your story is the most impactful thing that you can do, as opposed to maybe just like every now and then you might like be like, oh yeah, I'll just do like content for this and this and this, just like kind of scatter it, which is like
Yeah.
what people do, which is fine because like I feel like you can't always just be telling the same story over and over. I mean, maybe you can, I don't know, but
Yeah.
like generally speaking, like you know what I mean.
Hmm.
But I think that telling your story is the most impactful.
I love it. I was actually just talking to one of my mentors about this yesterday. When even when you look at your life, you could really like build up different variations of the story. You can make a story where it's like it starts off really rough and it's like a rocky cutscene, and then it turns into this massively good thing. You can get rid of all the bad stuff, make it really good the whole way through. As far as like when you tell your story, I'm sure you've thought about it a lot. What's like the best version of the story that you like to tell people?
The best version of the story is to tell the whole story without making it a highlight reel. So, like a lot of the times, as you know, like on social media, this is just an example, but like social media, like Instagram and all that, it's just a highlight reel. It's not like you don't see what's real. And so this can paint this false expectation that we have to be perfect in order to be accepted in this world, which is ridiculous because we're human, we're flawed, we all have our thing. Um, but the thing is, and that's why with my content, I love to show the good and the bad because it shows that it's relatable. That's the human condition. If we were all perfect, then it's like that would be horrible. Like,
Yeah,
what does
yeah.
that even look like? Like a bunch of like wax figures or something? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, I love it. Okay. And
yeah.
you so this is like kind of like down that same rabbit hole a little bit. When you tell people or the internet or anybody about anything, I have this weird like thought process sometimes where it's like I don't think people care. Like I don't think a lot of people care because they're so self-absorbed in their own story in their own life. And when you tell your story, I just sometimes would rather not because it's like I don't want to waste the energy of doing that because maybe they don't care and they don't want to listen. So
Yeah.
when you tell your story, like where does that like come from? You're just like telling it because you want to tell it? Are you telling it for like a purpose? Or like how do you overcome the fact that maybe no one cares and no one would listen?
Yeah. Well, I think that when I started out on YouTube, I just wanted to tell stories because I enjoyed doing it and I enjoyed sharing it with other people. Like it
Okay.
was because I loved how it made people feel. I remember the first time that I showed something that I made to like a bunch of people was when I was in the fifth grade and I made like a compilation of like a basketball thing that our year level was doing, and I shared it at assembly, so in front of like all the students and the parents. It
Yeah.
was like I don't know, maybe 100 people or something like that. Not even something like that. But anyway, I remember their reactions being like just like, oh, that's me. And they're just like they're enjoying themselves just watching it. And I was like, okay, it was at that point where I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Um Nowadays, because I've passed that kind of honeymoon phase of filmmaking, um and it's into like more of a deeper relationship than just that. Um, I would say that now it's definitely more for a higher purpose. But I still enjoy it. Like I still love what I do. And I am still like there is passion every now and then. Because obviously, like as I said, like passion is a feeling, so it's temporary. It comes and goes. Um, but ultimately, I will always push through because it's for a higher purpose.
I love that. Where do you we mentioned it briefly earlier on in the episode. Where do you see like the channel going? Or like what's kind of like this transition period that you've really started to discover? If you're okay with sharing it.
Yeah, of course. Well, this transition period for me is so I went through a really really tough time. And like for those who follow me would know that there around like I think it was like maybe 3 years ago now or something like that, maybe even 4 years ago. Um, I was admitted that I admitted myself to a hospital um, because I was actually doing a lot of meditation stuff. And the meditation that I was doing was something called third eye meditation. And that's to do with like, I don't know if you know about chakras and like all like just energy centers, Hindu philosophy stuff. And essentially, I was doing this meditation so much, and eventually like ended up. They call it, look, medically, they say that I had a psychosis. Um, Spiritually, I say that it was like demonic what was going on.
Right.
So this is heavy. But anyway, long story short, I admitted myself to hospital. They threw a bunch of medication at me for like schizophrenia, bipolar, all kinds of stuff. I've gotten brain scans done, so I don't have any of those, luckily, like thank God.
Yeah. Okay,
Um,
good.
yeah. And so I was like falsely medicated from doing all this meditation stuff. And essentially like I had low energy. And I went back to YouTube. My audience noticed that I had really low energy and they didn't want to watch my stuff because I didn't have that passion. I didn't have that energy about me. So they weren't feeling good when they were watching me. If anything, they were feeling bad for me, and they didn't want to feel that. So people dropped off my YouTube channel. Um, and as time went on, like things got better and better, like because I got off the medication more and more. But then I got back into the meditation because I thought like, oh, if I just do it right, then like it will be fine. Then long story short, I ended up back in a hospital again because I did this meditation. And
I got a question real quick. So when you do this meditation, like what ended up happening? Was it like describe the body reaction if you want to? Um,
yeah,
I'm just curious, like what ended up happening?
so as in like the first time or the second time or both?
But both, yeah.
Okay, so the first time round, like I literally saw like to to try and paint the picture. I don't know if you've ever seen Harry Potter before, but like
Yeah.
essentially like you know when they there's like that face in the clouds, like that Voldemort looking face
Yeah.
thing. Um that's like kind of like what I saw when I did the meditation. It was like a and that like engulfed me. And so like the way that I explained that, that was like a it was like a demon, really. And and for the like for those who don't believe in spirit like that kind of stuff, like I understand. I know that can be pretty hectic, but that's just my reality of like what happened. And and essentially like I thought that I was essentially the devil. And because it made me that that whole situation, it made me like believe in that. And so I was like thinking all of these false beliefs and stuff like that. And it luckily like I still had a bit of sanity in me to say like, look, mom, like I need to go to the hospital. And so I admitted myself and everything ended up being fine. It was pretty hectic. Sorry, I'll just change this exposure again. So it was hectic, but then I ended up the second time round. I ended up uh, how do I say? It ended up making me feel like I was going to have a heart attack. But when I was like going, like I actually felt like my heart was really sore. I'm like, what's going on? And because at this point, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Um, I don't know where to go with this. So what I ended up doing was I ended up praying, and because I didn't know what else to do, like honestly, and
Hmm.
I didn't even believe in Jesus really at this point. Like, but I prayed, and every time I prayed or put my hands together like this, my heart would like that feeling would go away, and I was like, "What? Like, what is going on here?" So I was just, it was very bizarre what was happening.
Yeah.
So like and like this, I'll touch on all of this in the documentary, but like it was a really tumultuous time. Anyway, I ended up like having to go to yeah, a psych ward. I was in there for only 3 days. The first time I was in there for 10 weeks. Yeah, so I was in there for a while. And but then like yeah, when I got out, a lot of things ended up happening where I was like, okay, like I don't want to trust this meditation thing. I want to just pray. I just want to like kind of like just surrender to God kind of thing. And and when I did that, I ended up feeling like this sickness inside of me as I was praying, and this like it that sickness turned into purification, like, and this weight had just been lifted off of me. So I had been like delivered from like whatever you want to call it. I call it a demon. That's essentially what it was. And
Yeah.
ever since, my life has been transformed. And now I'm in my new chapter where I'm making this documentary. It's about a lot of this stuff, but essentially, like, just warning people against doing yoga and meditation, man. Like, it's like, because you only hear the positives about that stuff, and it's another animal, bro. Like,
I'm
yeah,
uh
that's pretty
I'm
much it.
I'm really spiritual as well, and I fully believe everything you're saying. Actually, I've experienced really, really similar stuff because I also do like really heavy meditation, yoga, like when I was 17, and I had really like similar situations, and I did the same thing, just went straight to God, and it's hard to like I feel like talk about online sometimes because you don't know where it's going to go with the audience, but like I'm
Yeah.
at the point now where I'm like, all right, like my life is so much better because God is here and I'm happy to talk about
No.
it, you know.
Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm like that's a world that like I feel like a lot of people never open up to, and it's something that like changed my life. I'm talking to you. My life is incredible, and I like God is the reason for all of it. So um
Yeah. Amen.
yeah, absolutely. It's insane. Like the I we could rant on the demonic world for so long, and it's scary. Dude, it's scary. I have so many stories. Like, so it's interesting. I didn't know the documentary was is that like purely what it's about, or is it more holistic around your life?
So it's around my life. The documentary is around my life. It's like it's essentially the rise to YouTube fame and then the fall of that with like well, COVID is when it all really started, but then like the fall was like going into meditation, going into myself and like doing all that stuff.
Yeah,
And that ended up that was where like the negative spiral really went down. So it was coming back down. And then when I was at rock bottom, that's when like I went to Jesus, and then God really like picked me back up. And that's the story. And so the story like is actually like it's not photography is like a tiny bit of that story.
yeah,
That the rise to YouTube fame, it is a crucial part of the story, but it's not the story. It's a part of it.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to yeah, showing you and like showing the audience and stuff. Like it'll be great.
I love it. I know that we're coming up on time. You care if I ask a few more questions, or you got to go?
Go for it, man.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of people who do have success, and it's weird because we all try to model ourselves after people like you and other people who get successful. When they do hit the top, they might run into like a demonic experience like yours, or they might result to like hedonism. They make a lot of money. They start doing a lot of like hedonistic things, clubbing, partying, drinking, having sex with a bunch of strangers, like whatever it is.
Mm.
And I'm not placing a good or a bad label on it, but it's just, I do feel like that is kind of like a progression, and it would be interesting to hear your perspective on like what your advice is to people who watch creators and they're like, I'm so inspired, this is the life I want to live, and you've lived it.
Mm.
So I want to know your advice to people who might want to think twice about like going down that path.
Well, the thing is, well, I speak on the behalf of fame because, like, I haven't look. I was never famous, but like, I was like in terms of like fame. I was never like Justin Bieber, but
Yeah.
like, but I was internet famous to an extent.
You
Um,
still are, dude. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah. Well, yeah, to an extent for sure, but it's and look, everything's relative. But what I would say is that fame, same with money. Um, anything to do with this world is not going to fill you up. Like, I think that it's great to have aspirations to become an influential person, someone that does have an impact on other people in a positive way. Fantastic. I think if you're doing it for that, that is amazing. And if you happen to become famous out of doing that, that is awesome. Like, fame can be used for so much good. But the thing
Yeah.
is, fame is a four-letter word. It's not about like what it is, it's about how you use it. Because people glorify fame and they kind of put it on a pedestal. It's like, oh, this person's like super famous. It's like they're above the normal level of people. You know what I mean? Which is ridiculous. Because everyone, like, we're all children of God. We're all level, we're all equal. But with that said, you have to humble yourself, man. Like, look, and there was one point when I was like, I remember I was at a nightclub and I was really like, this was when I was really growing on social media. I was around like 1 million subscribers at this point, and I just remember feeling better than other people, like, because people were taking photos with me. Like, there were people around me, they all wanted photos with me. And I felt above them. And I was like, this is not healthy. Like, what's going on here? I don't want this to be what's going on. Like, I just want, I want to be humble. Like, who's this
Yeah.
monster that's been created?
Yeah.
And so that's when I went into the meditation out of trying to counteract that, because meditation, they talk about the ego and like transcending the ego and all that stuff, which is like, all like, just stay away from that. But essentially, Jesus is the answer, man. Like, that's just it. You know what I mean?
I love it, man. It's incredible. Your story is inspiring, and just so you know, like I didn't even know about the nightclub thing, but you have impacted so many lives. I go to an art school, and when I told some of my friends that I was interviewing you, they lost it because like all of us are here because of your content, because of the people on YouTube that when we were 14 years old, 15 years old, like we're wondering what the fuck to do with our lives. Like you guys put us on the map and gave us a purpose and a direction. And you do inspire us, and you use your fame in such a good way, in such a healthy way. And like, I'm serious, like Hayden, I'm blessed to be here in this chair talking to you, and I thank God for that. And I want to speak for all the people listening and people who are not listening. Like you really make an impact. And there are people out there that use the fame in a bad way, and you're not one of them. So I appreciate you taking the time, dude. I want to acknowledge you for that. And I'm excited to see where your documentary goes. And the last thing is, where can people find you?
Thanks, man. Well, first of all, thank you so much, and I appreciate it. And to you and like all of my audience hearing this, like, uh honestly, like, yeah, I love you all, and like I do, all I want to do is like, I just want to do good in the world, and I want to help, like, just spread the message. And like, oh, you're lost again. You're all back. You're back. You're all
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And like, just do good. But anyway, you can find me when I start posting again on
Yeah.
YouTube at Hayden Pedersen, if you don't know that already. And there's also my Instagram, which is at Haydos_Pedersen. Um, and like, I mean, I post on TikTok every now and then, which is just Hayden Pedersen as well. So just Hayden Pedersen, you put it in, it'll probably come up.
Yeah, I love it, man. It was good to see you. And I appreciate you taking the time.